The polished marble floors of the Seoul penthouse gleamed under the soft glow of recessed lighting, reflecting the hushed anxiety that permeated the air. Outside, the Han River shimmered, oblivious to the turmoil within those walls. Inside, Gong, the celebrated actor, paced like a caged tiger. His son, Min-jun, lay upstairs, his small frame fragile against the crisp white sheets of his hospital bed. The diagnosis was rare, aggressive, and terrifying. Every doctor, every specialist, had offered the same grim prognosis: limited time, palliative care. Gong had thrown money at the problem, flown in experts from across the globe, and converted a spare bedroom into a state-of-the-art medical facility. But money, fame, and influence were proving useless against the relentless advance of the disease. He was a man accustomed to control, to adulation, to crafting narratives on screen. Now, he was a powerless father, watching his son fade. He stopped pacing, his gaze drawn to the unassuming figure standing near the doorway, her hands clasped nervously in front of her. Park Soo-ah, his housekeeper. She was a woman of quiet dignity, her face etched with the lines of a life lived modestly. She had been with the family for 3 years, a constant, comforting presence. He barely registered her most days. "Soo-ah-sai," he began, his voice rough with exhaustion and despair. I don't know what to do anymore. I've tried everything." She stepped forward hesitantly. "I hear you, sir. I hear the pain in your voice. I have been praying for Min-jun every day." He scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. "Praying? With all due respect, Soo-ah-sai, prayers haven't cured him. Millions of won haven't cured him. Nothing has." She didn't flinch at his harsh tone. Her eyes, usually downcast, met his with a surprising intensity. "Sir, I know I am just a housekeeper. I know I am not a doctor, or a scientist. But I have knowledge. Knowledge passed down through my family for generations." He raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite himself. What could this humble woman possibly know that the world's leading medical minds didn't? Knowledge? What kind of knowledge? About healing, sir. About the power of nature and the balance of the body. My grandmother was a healer in our village. She taught me many things." Gong hesitated. He was a rational man, a man of science. But desperation had chipped away at his skepticism, leaving him vulnerable to even the faintest glimmer of hope. "Are you suggesting you can cure him?" Soo-ah remained silent for a moment, her gaze fixed on the floor. Finally, she looked up, her expression resolute. "I believe I can help him, sir. I cannot promise a cure. But I believe I can ease his suffering, and perhaps even guide him back to health." He stared at her, searching her face for any sign of deceit, of delusion. He saw only sincerity, and a quiet, unwavering conviction. The offer was insane. Ridiculous. And yet... "What do you need?" he asked, the words barely a whisper. Soo-ah took a deep breath. "I need your trust, sir. And I need ingredients. Special herbs, roots, and minerals. Some of them are rare and difficult to find." "Name them." "Anything. I'll get them for you." "Money is no object." He paused, a wild idea forming in his mind. If you can cure my son, Soo-ah-sai, I will give you $6 million. The sum hung in the air, staggering in its magnitude. Soo-ah didn't react, her expression unchanged. It was as if she hadn't even heard him. "I don't need your money, sir," she said softly. "I only want to help Min-jun. But I will need your permission to do things my way. Things that might seem unconventional." Gong swallowed hard. He was about to entrust his son's life to a housekeeper, a woman who claimed to possess ancient healing knowledge. It was a gamble of epic proportions. But he had already lost everything else. What did he have to lose? "You have my permission," he said, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. "Do whatever you need to do. Just save my son." Suwa bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, sir. I will not fail you." And that night, as the city slept, Park Suwa began her unconventional treatment. She started not with medicine, but with stories. She sat by Min Jun's bedside and told him tales of her village, of the mountains and the streams, of the healing power of nature. She sang ancient folk songs, her voice a soothing balm in the sterile room. And she prepared a simple herbal tea, its aroma filling the air with an earthy, unfamiliar scent. The doctors, observing from a distance, were baffled. They saw no scientific basis for her methods, no logical explanation for the subtle changes they began to observe in Min Jun. He slept more peacefully. He ate a little more. He even smiled, a fleeting, fragile smile that sent a surge of hope through Gong Yu's weary heart. But the real surprise was yet to come. The following morning, Suwa requested something unexpected: soil. Not just any soil, she explained, but earth taken from the oldest tree in the nearby mountain park, a gnarled oak said to be centuries old and imbued with the spirit of the land. Gong Yu, initially perplexed, dispatched his driver without question. He was beyond questioning anything at this point. When the driver returned with a carefully wrapped bundle of earth, Suwa took it with reverence, her eyes closed as she seemed to absorb its energy. She then asked for a basin of water, drawn not from the tap, but from a natural spring. Again, Gong Yu obliged, arranging for bottled spring water to be delivered immediately. She mixed the earth with the spring water, creating a thick paste. The doctors watched with a mixture of skepticism and morbid curiosity as Suwa gently applied the paste to Min Jun's chest, her hands moving in slow, deliberate circles. "What is this?" Dr. Kim, Min Jun's primary physician, finally asked, unable to contain his professional disdain. "What do you think you're doing?" Suwa didn't look up. Drawing out the sickness, she replied simply. "The earth absorbs the negativity, the water cleanses the spirit." Dr. Kim scoffed. "This is absurd. You're hindering the real treatment. Mr. Gong, I must insist that you stop this charade." Gong Yu, who had been silently observing the scene, fixed Dr. Kim with a steely gaze. "Dr. Kim, I appreciate your concern. But I have given Suwa SSI my permission to do what she believes is necessary. I will not interfere." Dr. Kim shook his head in disbelief but stepped back, muttering about the dangers of superstition. Suwa continued her treatment, applying the earth paste each morning, chanting softly in a language Gong Yu didn't recognize. She prepared special meals for Min Jun, using herbs and vegetables she had carefully selected from a local organic farm. She massaged his limbs with oils infused with lavender and chamomile, her touch gentle and soothing. Days turned into weeks. The doctors continued their conventional treatments, administering medication and monitoring Min Jun's vital signs. But they couldn't deny the subtle but undeniable improvement in his condition. His fever lessened. His breathing became easier. He even started to regain some of his strength. One afternoon, Gong Yu found Min Jun sitting up in bed, playing with a small wooden toy Suwa had carved for him. He was laughing, a genuine, joyful laugh that Gong Yu hadn't heard in months. Tears welled up in Gong Yu's eyes. He rushed to his son, embracing him tightly. "Min Jun, you're getting better. You're really getting better." Min Jun smiled at his father. "Suama is helping me, Appa. She tells me stories about brave warriors and magical creatures. She makes me feel strong." Gong Yu looked at Suwa, who was standing quietly by the doorway, her face radiating a gentle warmth. He had never seen her smile so brightly. He walked over to her, his heart filled with gratitude. "Suasesai," he said, his voice choked with emotion. I don't know how to thank you. You've given me back my son." Sua bowed her head. "It is Min Jun who is strong, sir. He has the will to heal. I am only guiding him." But Gong Yu knew that it was more than that. It was Sua's unwavering belief, her ancient knowledge, her profound connection to nature that had made the difference. She had tapped into something that modern medicine had overlooked, something that had awakened Min Jun's own innate healing abilities. The doctors, too, were beginning to acknowledge the inexplicable. They ran tests, analyzed data, and consulted with specialists, but they couldn't find a scientific explanation for Min Jun's recovery. They were forced to admit that something extraordinary was happening. One day, Dr. Kim approached Gong Yu with a hesitant expression. "Mr. Gong," he said, "I must confess that I was wrong. I was too quick to dismiss Suasesai's methods. I still don't understand how it's possible, but Min Jun is clearly improving. I believe she may be onto something." Gong Yu nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Sometimes, Dr. Kim," he said, "the greatest wisdom comes from the most unexpected places." Min Jun continued to improve, day by day. He started to walk, to run, to play like a normal child. He regained his appetite, his energy, his zest for life. The doctors gradually reduced his medication, and eventually, they declared him to be in remission. Gong Yu was overjoyed. He had his son back, healthier and happier than ever before. He owed it all to Sua, the humble housekeeper who had possessed the courage to challenge the conventional and the wisdom to heal the unhealable. He knew he had promised her $6 million, but that seemed insignificant compared to the gift she had given him. He wanted to do something truly special, something that would express the depth of his gratitude. He called a press conference, inviting reporters from all over the world. He stood beside Sua, his arm around her shoulders, and told the story of Min Jun's illness and her miraculous recovery. "I want the world to know about Park Sua," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "She is not just a housekeeper. She is a healer, a wise woman, a true miracle worker. She has saved my son's life, and I will be forever in her debt." He then announced that he was establishing a foundation in Sua's name, dedicated to researching and promoting traditional healing methods. He pledged to donate millions of dollars to the foundation, ensuring that her knowledge would be preserved and shared with future generations. Sua stood beside him, her eyes filled with tears. She had never sought fame or recognition. She had only wanted to help Min Jun. But she knew that this was an opportunity to share her gift with the world, to bring healing and hope to others in need. The press conference was a sensation. Sua became an overnight celebrity, her story inspiring millions around the world. She received countless offers for interviews, book deals, and even movie adaptations. But Sua remained humble and grounded. She declined most of the offers, preferring to focus on her work with the foundation. She traveled the world, meeting with traditional healers, learning about their methods, and sharing her own knowledge. She became a champion for the forgotten wisdom of the past, a voice for the power of nature, and a symbol of hope for those who had lost faith in the conventional. And Gong Yu? He continued his acting career, but he also dedicated himself to supporting Sua's work. He became a passionate advocate for holistic health and a firm believer in the power of the human spirit. He never forgot the day he offered Sua $6 million to cure his son. He realized that the true value of her gift was immeasurable, far beyond any monetary sum. He had learned that sometimes, the greatest treasures are found not in wealth or fame, but in the quiet wisdom of a humble heart. And that miracles can happen, even in the most unexpected places. Years later, Min Jun grew up to be a healthy and happy young man, filled with gratitude for his father and for the woman who had saved his life. He often visited Sua, listening to her stories, learning about her healing methods, and carrying on her legacy. And so, the story of Gong, his son Min-jun, and the extraordinary housekeeper Park Sua became a legend, a testament to the power of hope, the wisdom of tradition, and the enduring bond between a father and his son. It was a story that would be told and retold for generations to come, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, miracles are always possible. The foundation, now a global entity, flourished under Sua's guidance and Gong's unwavering support. Its research wings delved into the scientific validation of traditional remedies, bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and modern medicine. Sua, however, remained most passionate about the practical application of her knowledge. She established healing centers in underserved communities, places where access to conventional healthcare was limited. These centers offered a blend of traditional practices and basic medical care, providing holistic treatment to those who needed it most. One crisp autumn evening, Gong found Sua sitting on a bench in the garden of one such center, a quiet haven nestled amidst the bustling city. The scent of herbs hung in the air, a familiar and comforting aroma. "You seem at peace," he said, settling beside her. "I am," she replied, her gaze fixed on the children playing nearby. This is what it's all about, isn't it? Not the fame, not the accolades, but the chance to make a real difference." He nodded, understanding etched on his face. "You've done more than make a difference, Sua. You've inspired a movement." A faint smile touched her lips. "It's not just me, Gong USSI. It's the collective wisdom of generations, passed down through time. I'm just a vessel, a facilitator." "A humble one," he added, nudging her playfully. The silence that followed was comfortable, filled with shared understanding and mutual respect. Then, Sua turned to him, her eyes filled with a quiet intensity. "There's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice barely a whisper. "About Min-jun, and about what really happened." Gong's brow furrowed with concern. "What is it? Is something wrong?" "No, nothing is wrong. But the truth is more complex than you know. The herbs, the acupuncture, the rituals, they were all important, yes. They helped to strengthen his body, to stimulate his immune system." She paused, taking a deep breath. "But the real cure, the real miracle, it came from somewhere else entirely." He waited patiently, his heart pounding in his chest. What could she possibly mean? He had witnessed her tireless efforts, her unwavering dedication. He had seen the physical improvements in Min-jun, the gradual return to health. Min-jun, he was not just physically ill, Sua continued, her voice trembling slightly. He was also spiritually depleted. His spirit was weak, vulnerable. And that weakness allowed the illness to take hold. Spiritually depleted? Gong repeated, his voice laced with disbelief. He had always been skeptical of anything that couldn't be explained by science. Yes, she affirmed. Children are especially susceptible to the energies around them, to the emotions of those they love. Min-jun, he sensed your despair, your fear. He absorbed your pain. And that negativity weakened him. So, what did you do? He asked, his voice barely audible. I didn't just treat his body, she explained. I also nurtured his spirit. I filled his room with positive energy, with love and light. I told him stories of hope and resilience. I helped him to reconnect with his own inner strength. She looked at him directly, her eyes filled with compassion. But most importantly, I helped him to reconnect with you. I encouraged you to spend time with him, to talk to him, to listen to him. To show him your love, your unwavering belief in him. Gong stared at her, speechless. He remembered the countless hours he had spent at the hospital, his heart heavy with worry. He remembered the strained conversations, the forced smiles. He had been so focused on the physical aspects of his son's illness that he had neglected his emotional needs. You're saying that my love, that my belief in him, that was the real cure?" he stammered. "It was a crucial part of it," she confirmed. "The herbs and the treatments created the conditions for healing. But your love, your unwavering faith, that was the catalyst. That was what truly brought him back." Tears welled up in Gong Yu's eyes. He had always loved his son, of course. But he had never realized the power of that love, its ability to heal and to transform. I don't know what to say," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you, Sua. Thank you for opening my eyes." She reached out and took his hand, her touch gentle and reassuring. "You don't need to thank me, Gong Ussi. You did what any loving father would do. You never gave up on him. And that made all the difference." From that day forward, Gong Yu approached his life with a renewed sense of purpose. He continued to support the foundation, but he also made a conscious effort to prioritize his relationships, to nurture the bonds of love and connection that had proven to be so powerful. He spent more time with Minjun, engaging in his interests, listening to his dreams, and simply being present in his life. He learned to express his emotions more openly, to share his vulnerabilities, and to create a space of trust and understanding between them. He also made amends to his own family, reconnecting with his estranged siblings and repairing the rifts that had separated them for so long. He realized that true wealth lay not in material possessions or professional success, but in the richness of human relationships. As for Sua, she continued her work with the foundation, traveling the world, sharing her knowledge, and inspiring others to embrace the power of holistic healing. She remained a humble and unassuming figure, never seeking personal recognition or acclaim. But her impact on the world was undeniable. She had not only saved Minjun's life, but she had also transformed the lives of countless others, bringing hope and healing to those who had lost faith in the conventional. And Gong Yu? He would always be grateful to the humble housekeeper who had taught him the true meaning of love, the power of belief, and the importance of embracing the wisdom of the past. He knew that their paths had crossed for a reason, that their lives were forever intertwined. Their story became a testament to the extraordinary things that can happen when people come together with a shared purpose, when they are willing to challenge the conventional, and when they have the courage to believe in the impossible. It was a story of healing, of hope, and of the enduring power of the human spirit. A story that would continue to inspire generations to come. And it all started with an offer of $6 million, and a housekeeper who surprised everyone. The memory of that near-impossible recovery became a touchstone for Gong Yu. He carried it with him, a constant reminder that science, while powerful, wasn't the only answer. He saw Sua less as a housekeeper and more as a wise counselor, a quiet force who had steered him back to the essential truths of life. He made sure she had everything she needed, not out of guilt for his initial skepticism, but out of genuine respect and gratitude. Life settled into a new rhythm. Minjun, vibrant and full of energy, filled their home with laughter. Gong Yu found himself saying no to more projects, prioritizing family dinners, weekend trips to the park, and bedtime stories. He even started learning some of the traditional healing techniques Sua practiced, finding a sense of calm and connection in the ancient rituals. One afternoon, Sua approached him in the garden, where he was attempting, with limited success, to prune a rose bush. "Gong Ussi," she began, her voice soft as always. "There is something I need to discuss with you." He straightened up, brushing dirt from his hands. "Of course, Sua. What is it?" "The foundation, it is thriving. We are helping many people, spreading the knowledge of traditional medicine. But there is a village in the mountains, far from any city. They have been struggling with a strange illness. The doctors have no answers." He listened intently, his heart already beginning to stir with a familiar sense of urgency. "They are wary of outsiders, of modern medicine. They trust only in the old ways. I believe I can help them, but it is a long journey, and I will need to stay there for some time." He knew what she was asking, even before she voiced the unspoken plea. He saw the flicker of concern in her eyes, the quiet determination that had defined her approach to Minjun's illness. "How long?" he asked. "I cannot say for sure. Perhaps several months. Maybe longer." He considered this. Several months without Sua's calm presence in their home. Several months without her gentle guidance. But he also knew that he couldn't deny her this opportunity. He had seen firsthand the power of her healing touch, the depth of her compassion. This village needed her. "Then you must go," he said, his voice firm. "Minjun and I will be fine. We will miss you, of course. But you have a gift, Sua. You must share it with the world." A small smile touched her lips. "Thank you, Gong USSI. I knew you would understand. But," he added, holding up a hand, "I'm coming with you." Her eyes widened in surprise. "Coming with me? But, your work, your family." "Minjun is strong now," he said. "And I can take a break from filming. Besides," he grinned, "someone needs to carry your bags." He saw the genuine gratitude in her eyes, a warmth that spread through him like sunshine. He knew this journey would be challenging, that the village would likely be remote and isolated. But he also knew that it was the right thing to do. He wanted to learn more about the traditional healing practices that had saved his son's life. He wanted to support Sua in her mission. And, perhaps most importantly, he wanted to show Minjun that true compassion knows no bounds. The journey to the mountain village was arduous. They traveled by train, by bus, and finally, on foot, trekking through dense forests and over steep, rocky paths. The air grew thinner, the landscape more rugged. He found himself relying on Sua's knowledge of the terrain, her ability to navigate by the stars and the feel of the earth beneath her feet. He, the celebrated actor, was now the one being guided. When they finally arrived at the village, nestled high in the mountains, they were met with suspicion and distrust. The villagers, weathered and wary, eyed them with open hostility. They were a closed community, fiercely protective of their traditions and their way of life. "They have suffered much," Sua whispered. "They have lost many to this illness. They are afraid." He understood. Fear was a powerful motivator. He had felt it himself, when Minjun was sick. He knew that trust would have to be earned, not demanded. Sua began by offering simple acts of kindness. She helped the women with their chores, she tended to the children, she listened patiently to their stories. She didn't try to force her beliefs on them, she simply showed them compassion and respect. He, in turn, used his skills to help in practical ways. He repaired broken tools, he helped build a new shelter for the animals, he even used his knowledge of construction to reinforce the village's defenses against landslides. He worked alongside the villagers, sharing their burdens, proving that he was willing to get his hands dirty. Slowly, gradually, the villagers began to warm to them. They saw that Sua and Gong were not there to exploit or to judge, but to help. They began to share their stories, their fears, and their hopes. Sua quickly identified the source of the illness, a contamination of the village's water supply. A nearby mine had been dumping toxic waste into the river that fed their springs. She used her knowledge of traditional remedies to purify the water, to heal the sick, and to teach the villagers how to protect their environment. He, leveraging his influence and resources, brought attention to the village's plight. He contacted environmental organizations, he alerted the media, he even used his celebrity status to lobby government officials. He fought tirelessly to shut down the mine and to hold those responsible accountable. Together, they brought healing and hope to the village. They showed them that even in the face of adversity, even in the most remote and isolated corners of the world, it was possible to find solutions, to build bridges, and to create a better future. As they prepared to leave the village, months later, the villagers gathered to bid them farewell. Their faces, once etched with suspicion, were now filled with gratitude and affection. They presented Suwa and Gong with gifts of handcrafted pottery, woven blankets, and herbs gathered from the mountains. The village elder stepped forward, his eyes twinkling with warmth. "You came to us as strangers," he said, his voice raspy but strong. "But you leave as family. You have shown us the true meaning of compassion, the power of healing, and the importance of protecting our traditions. We will never forget you." As they walked away from the village, hand in hand, Gong felt a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. He had come to the mountains seeking to help others, but he had found something even more valuable, a deeper understanding of himself, a renewed appreciation for the simple things in life, and a profound connection to the human spirit. He had learned that true wealth lay not in fame or fortune, but in the bonds of love, the power of compassion, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of healing. And it all started with an offer of $6 million, and a housekeeper who surprised everyone. Back in Seoul, Min-jun awaited them, his small face pale but his eyes alight with anticipation. Gong knelt, embracing his son tightly. "We brought you something very special, Min-jun," he murmured, pulling out a small, intricately carved wooden bird from his bag, a gift from one of the village children. Min-jun clutched the bird, a faint smile gracing his lips. "It's beautiful, Appa." The true test, however, was yet to come. Suwa, armed with the knowledge gleaned from the mountain village and the purified herbs, began a regimen of treatments. It was a delicate balance between traditional medicine and the modern therapies Min-jun was already undergoing. Gong watched, his heart pounding in his chest, as Suwa prepared herbal remedies, massaging them gently into Min-jun's skin, and guiding him through breathing exercises. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. There were setbacks, moments of despair when Min-jun seemed to weaken. But Suwa remained steadfast, her unwavering belief in the power of healing a constant source of strength. Gong found himself drawing on her resilience, her quiet confidence, learning to trust in the process, even when doubt gnawed at him. One afternoon, as Min-jun was playing quietly in the garden, a rare occurrence, Gong noticed something different. Min-jun was running. Not just shuffling or wobbling, but actually running, his small legs pumping, a joyous laugh bubbling from his throat. Gong froze, his breath catching in his chest. He watched, transfixed, as Min-jun ran towards him, his face flushed with excitement. "Appa! Appa! Look!" Min-jun cried, throwing himself into his father's arms. Gong held him tight, tears streaming down his face. It was a miracle. A slow, gradual, hard-won miracle, but a miracle nonetheless. The doctors confirmed it. Min-jun's condition was improving. The treatments were working. His body was responding. The impossible was happening. The news spread like wildfire. The media, which had initially been skeptical of Suwa's methods, now clamored for interviews. Gong, however, shielded Suwa and Min-jun from the public eye. He knew that their healing journey was a private one, and he was determined to protect them from the intrusive glare of fame. He did, however, use his platform to advocate for traditional medicine and for the importance of environmental protection. He established a foundation dedicated to supporting research into alternative therapies and to providing clean water and resources to underserved communities. As for Suwa, she remained a quiet force in their lives. She continued to care for Min-jun, nurturing his body and spirit, teaching him about the healing power of nature and the importance of compassion. She never asked for anything in return, her reward being the joy of seeing Min-jun thrive. One evening, as the sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Gong sat with Suwa on the veranda, overlooking the garden where Min-jun was playing. "Suwa-sensei," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you. You saved my son's life. You gave us back our hope." Suwa smiled gently. I did what anyone would have done, Gong USSI. I simply followed my heart. He reached out and took her hand, his eyes filled with gratitude.